How do you find common ground when you're decorating with a partner who has completely different taste?
How do I find common decorating ground with my partner who has totally different tastes? You have to marry somebody like I did who doesn't have totally different tastes. That's the solution.
All kidding aside, this is one of the most common issues I hear people complain about. Their styles are different or they hate this thing or that thing, the recliner, something about their partner's style that they really don't like. Just as an example, my husband has a very particular style of artwork that he likes, but it's not the same kind of art that I like. And yes, some of it is actually Elvis inspired artwork. And meanwhile, I really love a good toile fabric. So you can see here how these things are pretty opposite. So if you and your partner have design styles that clash, I'm gonna give you some practical tips that hopefully will allow you both to feel good about your home. So I'm gonna share 5 strategies that I use to help us have a home that we're both happy with without compromising our own personal styles. And stick around to the end because the last one is a tiny bit sneaky, but I'm telling you, it's worked for me. If we haven't met, I'm Andrea, a virtual designer. The reason we have such different styles, I think, is because many of us are getting married later in life, and by that time, we've already lived separate lives by the time we start living in a home together. So, of course, you develop your own likes and dislikes during that time, and you both bring those into the same house. There's 3 different types. One scenario I see a lot is one person cares deeply about the way the house looks, and the other person they're more concerned about function and comfort than style. This is where you see the recliners come into play. Because let's face it, they are comfortable. Another scenario is both people really care about the style and they have completely different visions for what that's gonna look like. And the third scenario is that you come into the home and you each got things from your family members that you've inherited, and they don't necessarily go together. And you probably wouldn't have chosen them either. The first tip is gonna be open communication. That sounds obvious, but a lot of times you move in together and you haven't really had the conversation about how you want your house to look. You have to get to know what your partner likes. And if your partner is like mine, they're not gonna sit around and look at magazines with you and tell you, I like this, I don't like that. So you have to do a little bit of sleuthing, like when you're out and about. If you're at a hotel and you're sitting in a lobby and you notice, ooh, he really likes the aesthetic of this place. So what I like to encourage people to do is each person to come up with a list of things that are must-haves for them. So what is really important for you to feel like your home is a reflection of you. It might be a piece of artwork. It might be a toile sofa. So you have to each come up with your list of things that you really are not gonna feel at home without. So instead of just saying, what do you like and what do you not like? I try showing them 4 or 5 different images, not 25, just 4 or 5. And just ask the question, what about this picture do you notice that you like and what do you not like? And you can also do that when you're out, like I said, in the lobby of a hotel. This is a way to kind of narrow down the conversation and make it more manageable. The bottom line is you can discuss these things and you should, especially if you're getting ready to move. That's often when I find that I'm getting a lot of feedback from people is they're moving to a new place and how do they make their styles mesh. You also should try to understand the why behind each person's preference. For example, my husband bought a piece of artwork that I didn't love, but once I understood what he loved about it, which was the craftsmanship, then I began to appreciate it more. Number 2 is you need to both have veto rules, and you can pick a number. It can be 3, it can be 5. Each person gets the right to veto something that they really hate, but the other person wants to bring into the house. And it has to be without question, no guilt trips. So for example, I got to veto my husband's furniture arrangement, which isn't a thing. It's a way he wanted to arrange the furniture, which happened to be exactly the way the house was when we saw it. But I knew this was not the best way for the furniture to be. But he had that in his mind. So I had to use one of my vetoes to say, we're not setting it up like this. And he used one of his vetoes to say, I do not want a frame TV, even though it would have worked really great in our living room. So no questions asked. No frame TV. For inherited pieces that you haven't chosen to put in your space, I find one thing that can work for these isn't to veto it, but maybe to put it in a less prominent place. Maybe there's a guest room. It's not something that you're going to be a main focal point in your home, but you can still keep it for sentimental reasons. Number 3, and this is a big one, and I've talked a lot about color palettes, is that if you have different styles, it's really a great idea to try to agree on a color palette for your home. It doesn't have to be every room in the home has the exact same color palette, but even if you have completely different styles, things can really work great together if you have a cohesive color palette. And you'll see this in a lot of designers' homes. They don't pick just one style and that everything in the room is traditional or everything in the room is modern. A lot of designers combine design styles in every single room, but there is a cohesive palette that holds everything together. Number 4 is to divide the spaces. Sometimes it's possible for you each to have a space that you have complete and ultimate control over. For example, my husband's office. I don't touch it. I don't rearrange anything in there. So that space is his to do with as he pleases. And for me, it's the kitchen because I do a lot more of the cooking. And so I get to control 100% of what the kitchen looks like. So it can help to sort of define this space is mine and this space is yours. And if each of you have at least one of those, it can make each person feel like they're getting their needs met. So this isn't just about compromise, it's about creating spaces where both people feel comfortable. I have one client who said, I really want control over the bedroom. I really want to be able to feel like the bedroom is my place. And the husband said, I'm going to take more control over the living room. It doesn't mean she had nothing to do with what goes in the living room, but he sort of had the ultimate decision over the living room, and she did in the bedroom. This also works great for hobby spaces like spare bedrooms or man caves or basements. It's a great way to give one person complete freedom to do what they want with that kind of space. Number 5 is to make it a point to collect things when you travel. This is a good chance for you both to pick out things when you're out spending time together, and those things have meaning to both of you. So it's a good chance to both get some input on pieces in your home that you like and that remind you of things once you get home. We like to collect small pieces of art when we're traveling because they're easy to pack away and it's a great memory when we come back. And my sneaky tip is, one tactic that I've used multiple times is I'll make a change while my husband is away. I'm not bringing in things that he's refused, that he's used his veto power on. But for example, I put up some molding in the bedroom when he was out of town. And when he came back, he didn't even notice it. But if he had had to live through the process of doing it, he wouldn't have liked it. And he wouldn't have liked the molding. But when he comes home and it's already there, he doesn't even notice it. So sometimes it can be a good idea for both people to try something that they've been wanting to bring in when the other person is not around, and then let them sit with it a little while, because there's an old saying, I think that Gretchen Rubin used, and it's called exposure equals preference. And that means once you bring something in and you sort of get used to the way it is and the way it looks in your home, you'll start to like it better. And this definitely happened with me and my husband's artwork. So these are 6 strategies to help you find common ground with your partner or spouse if you have different design styles. Which one of these do you think is gonna work best in your home? Let me know in the comments. And if you're struggling to find that perfect balance, I offer virtual design services. So check out the link in the description.